Hello, my name is Daniela, and I am going to be discussing ideas based on a documentary I watched called Generation Boomerang. Generation Boomerang can be defined as the adult offsprings that still live under their parents' roof and are taken care of by their parents. In Canada, 51% of 20 to 29-year-olds still live at home. This was double of what it was 20 years ago. A key idea that I found in this documentary was that today's economy is now a factor of why Generation Boomerang even exists. An example in the documentary was about the Lermit family. Both the parents of Patrick Lermit, who is 24 years old, left their parents' houses at the age of 18 and had to learn how to make a living and find well-paying jobs while going to school. Their parents didn't help them financially when they were growing into adulthood, but it is the opposite for Patrick. Patrick's parents are letting him stay under their roof with rent for less than 50% of what the average rent costs until he is 25 years old. This allows him to live comfortably and focus on school and what he wants to plan for the future. In today's society, it is harder to find a well-paying job, even with proper education, than it was back in the day, where jobs were fairly easy to find and education wasn't always a factor. Another key idea that I found in this documentary is that Generation Boomerang can also be caused based on cultural beliefs. An example would be the Reyes family. Caleb Reyes, who is 29 years old, still lives with his mom and family even though he has a well-paying job and can afford to live on his own. His family's cultural beliefs expect that a child lives with his family until he/she gets married, and this situation includes many other families as well. And the last key idea that I found in this documentary is that in this generation, parents' relationships with their adult offsprings are closer than ever before. An example would be at the end of the documentary where social psychologist/author Dr. Jeffrey Arnett talks about how parents are closer than ever to their children and has never existed in previous generations. He also mentions that because of this close relationship between parents and emerging adults, there is a mutual supportiveness between both parents and their children. Sociologist/author Dr. Richard Settersten said something that resonated with me. He said that before, in the older days, teenagers and young adults were needed to critically help out their parents and families in many ways, and it was easier for them to find jobs. But in today's society, it is the opposite. Parents are needed to critically help out their children once they get into the adult stage. Jobs that have livable wages are hard to find nowadays, and so adult offsprings rely on their parents to help support them until they are able to support themselves. I agree with what Dr. Richard Settersten said because I believe it's true. Young adults aren't able to find jobs because it is harder to find jobs nowadays because many of the older generations are still working, which decreases the chances of young adults finding well-paying jobs. And so, young adults tend to lean towards the support of their parents because they are most likely still working or have had a well-paying job. In my opinion, I sort of like the idea of Generation Boomerang. It shows that our generation is evolving and changing the way people view relationships with parents and their children. I think that staying at home until you are able to properly live on your own is a great idea if parents are willing to take care of their children. I think that living with parents for a longer period of time builds a closer relationship than those who move out at an earlier age. And also, it allows adult offspring to fully commit to focusing on what they want to do in their future endeavors, rather than being rushed to leave the house when they aren't ready and don't know what they plan on doing in their lives. I think that being a Generation Boomerang is something that I would do because my parents would like me to stay home until I am ready to leave and plan my future under their roof. To conclude this video, I would just like to say that after watching the documentary called Generation Boomerang, being a Generation Boomerang should not be a bad thing. To me, being a Generation Boomerang can be defined as the adult offsprings that still live under their parents' roof and are taken care of by their parents. Being a Generation Boomerang is a privilege and also helps them plan their life thoroughly, freely, and comfortably without any anxiousness or rush, which I personally think will make their plans more successful. Thanks for watching.